Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do here is install the stabilizers onto the PCB. Now I want to reiterate that you could just get PCB mount stabilizers and simply throw them in there and call it a day. But I'm going to go a little bit over the top and use some of these fun screw-in stabilizers. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to do some kind of over-the-top modifications that just improve the feel and the sound a little bit. But don't let that intimidate you. There's nothing wrong with taking a vanilla pair of stabilizers and throwing them in there. But that being said, I'm going to go ahead and start with the process here. So the first thing that I'm going to do is called a Bandaid mod. And it's called a Bandaid mod because you use a Bandaid to do it. This is a Bandaid brand flexible fabric Bandaid. These are phenomenal for cutting yourself, highly recommended, but they are also useful for acoustic damping of stabilizers. If you want more in-depth detail on that, I suggest you look it up. There are infinitely smarter people who have done this, and I'm sure reviewed it in a better manner. But what we're going to do is I've already cut a Band-Aid beforehand. I took one Band-Aid and cut it up into 6 lengths. They're a little bit over 1/4 inch. We're basically looking for the width of the stabilizer housing here. And so you can essentially envision these will be down on the PCB, the stabilizer housing will sit on top of it, and this stem will raise and fall onto this little padded housing, and so it'll provide a little bit of suspension there and kind of dampen out any noise. Again, I want to reiterate that this is a little bit over the top, quite frankly, and completely unnecessary, but while we're here, it's kind of a fun thing to do to make it your own. Oh goodness. And this is me making a mess. And you'll notice that I'm allowing for quite a bit of overlap here onto the hole. That's not an issue. I'll probably try to trim these other ones up while I'm here, but it's not catastrophic. Okay. So now that I know that's too long, go ahead and get a feel here. Try and trim the next guy up. And so what I was trying to do originally was leave them on the back of the adhesive here so that you can peel it off, because when you've got it like this, it's kind of a pain. But we'll go ahead and give it a whirl. Sorry for the off-camera action here. This requires some intense focus. Okay. I believe that is mission success. So much better. Okay, so I'm going to peel this guy up a little bit and actually try and trim it. So far, my tools of the trade are some standard scissors, and these tweezers are actually from this little Hyper Tough 77-piece electronic repair kit. I think I paid $10 at Walmart. Highly recommended for anything in which you're not worried about the bits stripping out your hardware. I mean, you're applying next to no torque to these, so it shouldn't matter at all. So very cool. It comes with a lot of neat bits, pretty much everything you should need for most consumer electronics. And we're just going to keep it on here. Sorry, I'm going in for another round of surgery. I'm going to poke myself with these tweezers and need to a Band-Aid myself. Okay. And again, don't be concerned. So right here we've got a considerable amount overlapping that hole, but you can see as I poke my tweezers in there, it forms around it pretty well. And so when we're forcing the stabilizer in there, it'll conform, no problem. Okay, I'm going to try and be better about this on this end. So if I cut these guys, because they're too long, maybe rule 1 should be have good scissors. Those are not stellar. Look at how much easier that is. That's how life should be. Oh man, you get arrogant and the Band-Aid bites you. I have degrees and I cannot cut a Band-Aid to length. Laughable. While I'm doing this, these exact stabilizers are from the key.co. They are C3 stabilizers. They're the same make of the switch that I'm using. So I thought it was kind of a fun little cohesive bit there. But there's no need if you want to mix and match. Use some Gatoron switches with some cherry stems or cherry stabilizers rather. Okay, well, I am failing miserably on that. So I tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna open another one. Also worth noting that these C3 stabs actually come with these stickers whose sole intent is so that you can peel and place. As simple as that. But if you just feel the two, this cardboard doesn't quite give as much as the Band-Aid, so I'm being pretty snobbish by electing to do the Band-Aid mod over the included damping material with the C3 stabs. I suppose if you are really rolling in the dough, you could do one little slice from every Band-Aid and make your life that much simpler. But I try not to waste, so. Rip. Okay, so that's down. The next thing that we like to do is apply a healthy dose of grease, and I like to use just regular dielectric grease here. You can get pretty fancy with it, but on my stabs I don't really care to get exotic. I just use the cheap stuff. You can find that at Home Depot, Lowe's, maybe even Walmart, I'm not sure. But your local hardware store. I'm going to put a pretty healthy glob on there, right in that center part where this stem is going to come down. You don't want to put a whole lot because it will collect dust and all of this debris and stuff, so only as little as needed, I think is what they say, which is asinine and arbitrary. So I'll try and give you a feel there. Let's see what I got. Yeah, it's a little hard to show, but a decent little blob is on there. And then I'll just kind of take that and smear it around. Even it out a little bit. Okay. Okay, had some technical difficulties there, but we've got 2 out of the 3 done now. And so you can see what they should look like when they're complete. The biggest things that we're looking for is that these should be entirely flat. You should be able to see the retaining clips poking out above the PCB. These screws should be nice and firm, not too tight. We don't want to break anything or strip out the threads on the plastic here. But from the top side, we want the wire to remain firmly planted down there, and these should, the stems should move in unison and pretty freely at this point. So those guys look good. So let's go ahead and do this last guy. So you'll notice that there is a larger hole and a smaller hole. So the larger hole is for the side with the hook here, and the smaller hole for the screwdriver, or the screw rather. We're going to take my Q-tip with the dielectric grease and just apply a little bit in there. Okay. And then we're going to do the same for the sides of the stem here. I can't seem to get it off my Q-tip. There we go. Okay, now you'll notice that there is a notch in the stem. The notch, we want to go away from the wire. And you'll notice the wire goes through these little loops here on the top side. So notch away from the wire and throw it in. And so what we're looking at there is the notch over here corresponds to a side with 1 hole. So on the other side, it would appear as though there's 2, but really there's only the 1 that goes through. So basically you've just got some relief on this side. You can see it's a little slanted. That just allows the wire to pass through it freely. Like so, and then gives it some relief in that upward direction. So, kind of a boring little lesson, but the more you know. Do. So we're going to lube up the sides just a hair. And that notch goes away from our wire. So I'm going to go ahead and invert the housing. Notch away from the wire. And we're all good. So now we're going to seat the wire. So I'll dip the end of the wire in the dielectric grease. Just get a little bit on there. Not too much. And we're going to see if I can get this on camera. I goofed up pretty well previously. There we go. So now it's in there. And we'll just snap the wire in. Okay, and so as it stands, it should move freely. And we can see that it's looking pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and rinse and repeat for the other side. Probably see if I can get a little bit more on there. So that's probably a little bit more than I'd like, but we should be fine. Okay, and same thing. Gonna find the hole in there. And you can see this, I'm kind of pushing the stem a little sideways, so it's fighting me. So take your time, line it up, and then you should see it's all the way through now. Once you've got it in there, snap it in place. Nice satisfying snap, and you should be good. So I'm going to get all of this extra grease off my hands. Gross. And again, we've got the larger holes that will correspond to the clips and the smaller holes that will correspond to the screws. So we're going to take the PCB, mount the clip side first, and go ahead and throw her in there. So it should be a nice firm fit. You can see the Band-Aid now taking up just about the width of that housing, so that's nice and good. If there's overlap, it's just aesthetics, so feel free to trim it up if you'd like. I'm going to go ahead and keep on keeping on because it should be pretty well hidden by the keycaps. Go ahead and insulate it with a little dielectric washer here. That's a little over the top. You probably don't need to do that, so long as you don't screw down too much. But you know, we're doing Band-Aid mods and custom stabs and everything. This whole thing is almost by definition over the top. So when in Rome. Okay, and again, I'm just putting it on there tight enough to keep it in place. Go to the second one, and what I've seen sometimes is if you do something like that, this guy might pop out a little bit, and so you'll be hovering on this side. So while it looked like you might be good, this guy over here is popped up. So if you check the bottom, you can easily see that by the difference between these little one-way fasteners. So the way to fix that is just to prop it back in there, make sure that you're nice and tight, and you can see that lip really biting down on the PCB. Because the last thing we want to have is some uneven stabilizers. That's no fun. Oh, that's also no fun. But this is much easier to deal with. Let's play chase the screw. Okay. And again, I'm just going to go finger tight on these guys. Just cinch it up a little bit. I'm only trying to provide enough clamping strength to keep those on the PCB. I don't want to crush anything, don't want to strip the plastic. And so again, our metrics here are make sure that the wire stays on the board and that these guys move freely and in unison. So that is a green check there. So our stabilizers are mounted. We've even gone over the top with some Band-Aid mods. And we are ready to mount some switches. So I'll go ahead and conclude this video, and I will see you on the next one.